Hello and welcome to Convinced Catholicism, a place for all things Catholic. Today I have a highly requested video, and that is how to pray the Collins Divine Office. So this is the Commonwealth English equivalent to the Liturgy of the Hours that's published by Catholic Book Publishing Company. This, on the other hand, is published by Collins, and rather than it being 4 volumes like the Liturgy of the Hours, this is 3 volumes. They are able to squeeze in some ordinary time into the Advent. They're able to combine Lent and Easter, and then there are some ordinary time dates that are compiled into a 3rd volume, right? So a lot of people prefer this version over the Liturgy of the Hours version simply because of the layout and the lack of art. They also like that the words are notated, sort of. There's accent marks on some of the words to understand where the psalm notation might be improvised and things like that. So I understand why people want this video out there. It's not easy to learn a breviary that's 1 volume, let alone 3. So what I'm going to show you, we are going to simulate today's date, Wednesday 15th, 2025, which would be the first Wednesday in ordinary time. And we'll see how it's done. I don't have any of the ribbons in, so I know where I'd like to place mine, and I do recommend sometimes cards, and so we'll show you where cards might be placed, right? So let's get started with that. So first of all, the table of contents will be our help here, right? So we can see proper of seasons, that'll be 1 ribbon. The Psalter will be another ribbon, proper of saints, and then the common offices will be another. And you'll see that we might need, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ribbons. So we'll see what types of ribbons we might need, okay? Office for the Dead and the index of hymns, I typically do not use, okay? So these appendices and these indexes, I do not really look at them. Night prayer, we will maybe want a ribbon. My recommendation is either place a prayer card there or memorize where night prayer is in the book, all right? And it's after the 4-week Psalter. All right, so one other ribbon that you might want to use is for the ordinary, quote unquote. Now, and that's what makes this book a little bit different than the others, is that there's not necessarily this ordinary, and what is an ordinary? It is the prayers that are said every day for the office, right? And so you'll see that there is not really, at least not in the table of contents, it's not really listed here. But if you look carefully, we do see frequently recurring texts, and that's on page 2, right? And bracketed 2, right? So I want you to notice a couple of things here. There are Roman numeral texts, which we really won't use, numbers, I should have said. Regular old numbers as you would just see them every day. We see bracketed and asterisks for numbers, right? So let's first of all get started with the proper of seasons. Any regularly attending church Sunday Catholic would know what week of ordinary time it might be. If you're having trouble with that, maybe Google Catholic liturgical calendar, and there should be results that will tell you what Sunday it is, what day within that week it is. Okay, so let's first of all go to the proper of seasons. And I know that it's ordinary time week 1, Wednesday, because the most recent Sunday was the baptism of the Lord, which essentially replaces the first Sunday, or is, in a sense, the first Sunday of ordinary time. So week 1 starts at 385. So we'll go there. $3.85. Okay, and we can see here in the red, the feast of the baptism of the Lord takes the place of Sunday. All right, and we can see here, this is important. Every Sunday, they will tell you what week of the Psalter you'll be praying from. And week 1 will be the week of the Psalter that we use. So we know that it's Wednesday. Wait, we're simulating off the date that it actually is, Wednesday the 15th. So we can see here, Wednesday is right here. And the first office that they offer is the office of readings. And we'll get to why that might be important to you in a moment or not. So we've placed our ribbon down on Wednesday. Now, remember what it said for the Sunday, right? It's not going to necessarily say it for the weekdays, but the Sunday will always tell you. So we know that it's Psalter week 1. We have Monday, and we have I may have passed. No, I did not. Wednesday. Psalter week 1, Wednesday, and it should say a nice big text right there, Wednesday. And notice what the office says here. It says Office of Readings, Wednesday, week 1, Wednesday. Right, so we can place a ribbon down. You may, at this point, want to put down a ribbon for the frequently recurring texts on page 2, which, if you're seasoned, you would know what the frequently recurring texts are. I pray the office somewhat regularly, and I know that the frequently recurring texts for the office of readings is, O Lord, open thou our lips, and our mouths shall show forth thy praise. At least that is for the invitatory. And then you could say, O God, make speed to save me. O Lord, make haste to help me, or some translation of that. So let's go ahead and I'll show you number 2, daily office. O Lord, open our lips, and we shall praise your name. I said a different translation that I'm more used to. And then we have these antiphons for the invitatory, which is Psalm 95, which is right here. This would be the first prayer that you pray, whatever that might be. And then we have the office of readings. So we see here, introduction to each hour. O God, come to our aid, or O God, come to my assistance. O Lord, make haste to help us. O Lord, make haste to help me, right? And then we have the text for the different canticles and different things like that, right? So Benedictus for the morning, the Magnificat for the evening, the Nunc Dimittis for the night prayer, etc., right? But you can also save a card. This does come with cards that will give you all this information, but I find the cards to be clunky, and I don't know necessarily where to put them. I don't really have a place I like for them. There are these yellow cards. I have disposed of them personally, but once you start doing the office, these texts or ones that you're more comfortable with will likely become memorized. But a nice alternative, if you must have something saved for the ordinary, and I get it, you can use a card. Okay, so we can place a card there, and this will move along I'm just grabbing a card there. We can move along with the card as the offices are said throughout the day, right? So we have a ribbon down for the Psalms, for the Psalter, for the Office of Readings, week 1. And once you finish the 3 Psalms that the Office of Readings has, you go straight to morning prayer, and there it is. And then morning prayer, well, we won't save a ribbon there, but morning prayer, prayer during the day. This is a replacement for prime, terce, sext, or none. You also have options to pray all of those. Usually, including priests, they pray just the one version of it. And we can see here that it goes straight into evening prayer, right? And then, so where is Compline, right? Compline is going to be at the very end of the Psalter, right? So the Psalter's huge. So we can, night prayer, right? So night prayer in this book, I think, is something like page 481 or something like that. I could be totally wrong. Yeah, I am wrong, obviously. But 571 maybe. But okay, 573. But when it comes to Wednesday, it's right here. And then you would start with the frequently used text that is bookmarked with a thingy, and we can add a ribbon here, or we could use a card. Now we want to go to the feasts. So the feasts in this book are not going to be all the days of the year, right? Because this is a 3-volume set. So the feasts that are going to be mostly in the winter time are going to be offered here. So today's January 15th, the day I'm recording, and you may not see something offered for January 15th. Then, and as a matter of fact, the next thing we see here is St. Anthony of the Desert, St. Anthony Abbot, or Antony, as the Commonwealth would pronounce it and spell it clearly. We see here that there are instructions, rubrics, red text from the Common of Men Saints Religious, page 435. We'll hold on to that for a second. Notice that there is a second reading here. Okay, and before we do that, notice that it says here Memoria. This means that a certain amount of material will be used instead of just the normal things that you see in the Psalter. Okay, so the Office of Readings always has 2 readings. Since this is a Memoria, which is a certain rank of feast, we would replace the second reading that is found here, or not, rather than here, it would be actually here. So the first reading is here, the second reading is here. Rather than reading a treatise on Saint Irenaeus, we would be reading something from Saint Anthony of the Desert. Okay, and it's Life chapter 2 through 4 on the calling of Saint Anthony, and then we would do the responsory here and the concluding prayer. Notice here that the next saint in this calendar, Saint Fabian, is an optional Memoria, meaning you can just pray it the way that it is in the Psalter. There's nothing that you need to necessarily change. And then there are feasts, and the instructions for feasts go into, they are like, okay, conversion of St. Paul. We see that the Psalms, him as at morning prayer from the Psalter, okay, but the antiphons will change. The Psalms are going to be from the common of the apostles. The first reading will be from Galatians, which is provided here. And this is for the office of readings. Let's take a look at morning prayer. The hymn will change. The Psalms and the Canticle will be of Sunday week 1. It tells you the pages, etc., etc. But more likely, the saint will be a memoria or an optional memoria. And when that happens, right, a lot of optionals and a lot of memorias, when that happens, you go to the common of saints. So 435, and notice it's not even happening today. Right? If there's nothing marked, you will just pray it as is instructed in the later section, in the earlier part of the book. But let's then go to January 17th, 435 asterisk. So 435. And we can see here that there is a ribbon that we can put down. Okay. So we would not actually read this first reading. We would read the one that's in the front of the book, and we would actually not read the second reading either. We would read this one right here. All right, so let's pretend that it's January 17th, and we'll put this ribbon down later. As a matter of fact, we may even use this, instead of using this bookmark, we may want to use that ribbon. But let's pretend it's January 17th. So today is Wednesday the 15th, which means that it would be a Friday. Okay, so let's go to the Friday, right? 15th, 16th, 17th, right? So Friday. And I'm going to go through office of readings, morning prayer, and evening prayer with you. So Friday. Psalter week 1, Friday. That's Thursday. Here's Friday. Friday. As a matter of fact, let's go to the frequently used text. Okay, so I went to the frequently recurring texts, page 2. Now, Friday, week 1, and again, the week will be dependent on what Sunday it is, or what was the most recent Sunday, which the proper seasons will specify. Week 1, Friday. We'll change the night prayer to Friday as well. Friday. The common of saints is St. Anthony, and the common of saints for religious is set up for a religious, right? So notice that it says abbot or whatever. That's a religious person, as in like a friar or a monk or whatever, right? So we have our thing, our book all set up, and we did not even have to use, and I see one ribbon is a little bit screwed up, crisscrossed, right? But we did not have to use a prayer card. So let's go ahead, right? And I would say the first thing to check is the Sunday, or the proper, and the office, and the saints, the propers of saints and the proper of the season, right? So notice that it says Memoria, from the common of saints, religious 435, second reading. And then we can see here that the responsory and the concluding prayer are all that is supplied. All right, so let's start off with the Office of Readings. So we would go to the frequently recurring text. We would start with the Lord, open thou our lips, and we shall praise your name. And then we would go to the antiphon that is appropriate for the season. So Friday, give thanks to the Lord, for his great love is without end. And then we would pray through the invitatory psalm, Psalm 95. Then we have the introduction for the Office of Readings. God, come to our aid. O Lord, make haste to help us. Glory to the Father, etc., etc. Then we can go to the week 1, right? And notice that it says, give thanks to the Lord, for his great love is without end. Is another antiphon, or maybe even the same antiphon that we can use. Let's see here. Yeah, it's the same antiphon, right? And so here is the Office of Readings. It starts with the hymn. We can sing this hymn. There's no need necessarily to go to the Common of Saints hymn, okay? And then we would pray the psalms that are here. Why? Because it's a memoria. It's not a feast. If it's just a normal Old Saints Day, which is going to be most likely, we would pray from these hymns. From these psalms, excuse me. Then the readings, right? So remember, you do the first reading from here, Friday, the Office of Readings, and then you do the responsory, but then you pray the second reading from the saint. Second reading, okay? And then you do the responsory from here, and then we'll continue on. The Office of Readings, and then you would pray the concluding prayer, etc., etc. Morning prayer. You would pray this hymn. You would pray these psalms. You would pray these psalms in the Psalter. But then you would take the scripture reading, the short responsory, the intercessions, and the concluding prayer from the Saint Day and the Common, right? So, but notice something here. We really only have the concluding prayer. So where would we take the readings and such? We would take it from the Common, right? So you just lost my. Here it is. So, where did it go? There should be something for the morning prayer. So as it turns out, the Common for Saints Religious does not necessarily have a morning prayer or evening prayer common, right? But I can show you an example, right? We can see here that Common of Women Saints, we see here that there are morning prayer commons and evening prayer commons, and the ones that you would take for a memoria are the scripture reading, the short responsory, and the intercessions, and the concluding prayer. And then if you wanted to throw in the antiphon for the Benedictus, that is great as well, right? But as we can see here, the common of Saints Religious, we would have to move to 382. So from the common of men's saints, 382. And then we can see here the, excuse me, the propers for someone like Saint Anthony. You'll notice that this is kind of an overwhelming book to use. It's not the easiest thing in the world to use. 3 words of advice. First one is God is merciful, and he will not get angry at you for making a mistake in this. Even the most seasoned of priests will use apps like iBreviary, divineoffice.org, and the Universalis app. Okay? I personally use the Universalis app. I think that the small fee, the one-time fee of, I think it's like £10 or $14 US dollars is worth it for a lifetime of prayer that you never have to use the internet for. It's all preloaded for the rest of your life. Second thing I'll say is practice makes perfect. Once you get the hang of this book, you will enjoy using it. And the third thing I will say too is cross-reference. If you are totally against using a computer to pray, which I get, you can open this book up and you can open up iBreviary right next to it. The translations might be a little bit different, but that's to be expected. A lot of this is copyrighted and such. And cross-reference. If you see that the reading is from Romans and you're looking at Isaiah, take the time, look back in the comments and say, oh, that's why. I was praying from the Psalter, not from the Commons. But honestly, the Liturgy of the Hours is a beautiful thing. And I would say take it one office at a time, right? Maybe just pray morning prayer or just evening prayer or just the office of readings for a little while and then build up. But I hope that this was helpful. It's not the most straightforward book, but I hope that this cleared the fog a little bit for you. Thank you very much. Take care. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Take care, and God bless.